We've had enough of these illegal migrants that are coming over, and I'll tell you this now.
It kicked off like a routine live TV debate, but within moments, the atmosphere in the studio was ready to explode.
It's a personal smack in the face to the British public. We've had enough.
One audience member, Eddie, lashed out at the government's new migration deal with France, calling it a total disaster before it's even started. Then came the real shocker. We don't want any in. The Labour MP on the panel was left pinned down, scrambling for a comeback, but the drama didn't stop there.
If you're exposed to violence when you're young, you are more prone to commit, not all the time, and likely reoffend.
Then another guest stepped in, firing off a second round of harsh reality that left the MP completely rattled. So let's unpack it all, and I'll explain why this moment is far bigger than anyone's letting on. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and drop your thoughts in the comments below.
I just want to bring this gentleman in here. Go on, sir. What would you like to say?
Yeah, my name's Eddie. I'd just like to say I don't believe this one-in, one-out scheme is going to work. I just can't see it's going to work. We don't want any in. We've had enough of these illegal migrants that are coming over, and I'll tell you this now. For every illegal migrant that comes into the country at the moment, and every boat that comes into this country, bringing illegal migrants, it's a personal smack in the face to the British public. We've had enough, and all we're seeing is on a daily basis more and more coming in. Enough is enough. And you are going to see the protests. More protests.
Yeah. Okay.
You're going to see a lot more protests now.
Can I just respond to what you've said?
Yeah, they will.
Because the whole point of the scheme, and I agree with you, it may not work, but let's try it. And the whole point of the scheme is to swap the illegal migrants who've come here illegally, to send them back to France. We couldn't do that before. We can do that now. And in return, get people who have come through a safe and legal route.
Barry,
that's the point.
I understand that is the point.
That's all right.
But I think you will find across the country, we don't want the legal migrants either anymore.
Well, right.
But we've had millions of them. Yeah. We're fed up with it.
Sorry,
the Boris way, the lot. We want it to stop. And that's the general public opinion.
There has been, as this gentleman in the audience.
The studio lights were blazing, hotter than a midsummer protest, and within seconds, the tension snapped. One audience member, Eddie, shot to his feet, frustration etched across his face, his voice cutting through the room like a crack of thunder. "We don't want any in," he declared. The words smashed into the panel like a stone through quiet glass. The Labour MP froze, color draining, as the audience erupted with gasps, claps, and raw emotion. This wasn't a debate anymore. It was a live reckoning with policy failure. So let's roll it back, turn the volume up, and break down the moment that transformed a sleepy TV segment into a national jolt. Eddie didn't raise concerns, he launched them. Every arrival crossing the channel, he argued, felt like another strain on a country already stretched thin. Packed hotels, overburdened streets, futures uncertain, he insisted people had reached their limit. The crowd responded instantly, a wave of frustration pulsing through the room. The host attempted to regain control, but the tension had already snapped loose. Eddie warned more public pushback was coming, bigger, louder, impossible to ignore. The MP stumbled to defend the new France deal, insisting it was a simple exchange of irregular arrivals for legal routes, a balanced approach. "Not good enough," Eddie shot back. "We don't want the swap." The studio lights were blazing hotter than a midsummer protest, and before anyone could blink, the tension snapped like a steel cable under strain. Eddie, an audience member who had clearly reached his boiling point, shot to his feet. The frustration on his face wasn't just personal, it was national. His voice sliced through the air like a crack of thunder. "We don't want any in." 6 words, and the room erupted. The Labour MP froze, the color draining from his cheeks. Gasps, claps, shouts, a storm of raw, unfiltered public emotion. This wasn't a polite TV debate anymore. This was a live confrontation with the consequences of policy failure, right in front of millions. Tonight, we're breaking down that moment, every shift, every heartbeat, every explosive truth that turned a routine segment into a national wake-up call. Before we dive deep, hit like, subscribe, and tap the bell, because what happens next is the part nobody else is telling you. When Eddie stood up, the entire room felt it. His voice wasn't shaking, it was steady, angry, certain, and the message behind it had been building across the country. People feel ignored. People feel unheard. People feel like decisions are being made over their heads. He didn't mutter. He didn't hesitate. He detonated. Every arrival crossing the channel, he argued, wasn't just a number in a report. It was another strain on local services, another pressure on housing, another stretch of already stretched budgets. You could see heads in the audience nodding. You could hear murmurs of agreement. This wasn't fringe. This wasn't extreme. This was frustration reaching critical mass. 2. The studio spirals out of control. As soon as Eddie's words landed, the crowd reacted like someone had flipped a switch. Claps, gasps, people shifting in their seats. Even those who disagreed were wide-eyed because this wasn't polite disagreement anymore. The host tried to steer things back to the script. You could see the panic flicker just for a second, but the leash had already snapped. The room wasn't listening to the panel anymore. They were listening to Eddie. And whether the establishment liked it or not, he had just become the voice of the room. Then came the line that shook the panel. More protests are coming, bigger, louder, unstoppable. Now, whether you agree or not, there's no denying the significance. People feel something breaking, not socially, not culturally, but politically. A system stretched thin, a public worn down, a debate that's become more like a pressure cooker. This wasn't theater anymore. This was a warning shot. The Labour MP tried to respond, clutching onto the New France deal like a life raft. It's a fair trade, he insisted. Irregular arrivals swapped for legal ones. But Eddie cut him off instantly. Not good enough, we don't want the swap. Silence. A silence louder than shouting. Because that right there exposed the truth. People don't feel consulted. They don't feel protected. They don't feel prioritized. And no clever political phrase was going to fix that in one TV exchange. The reason this clip is blowing up online is simple. It wasn't about Eddie. It wasn't about the MP. It wasn't even about immigration alone. It was about trust, or rather, the collapse of it. Across the country, people are asking, who is this system actually working for? And for many, the answer feels like, not them. This moment hit because it summed up a national mood in 20 seconds. Frustration, fatigue, anger, and a growing belief that something fundamental is slipping. That's why the clip matters. That's why it's spreading. That's why we're talking about it tonight. So what comes next? Whether the government admits it or not, moments like this don't happen in a vacuum. They're pressure signals, warning signs, cracks forming in the walls of a system that pretends everything is under control. Eddie's outburst wasn't just one man losing patience. It was the voice of thousands who feel pushed aside while decisions reshape their towns, their schools, their futures, and ignoring those voices isn't an option anymore. If the political class keeps dodging reality, the debates won't just get louder, they'll become impossible to contain. Because people aren't angry for the sake of anger. They're angry because they feel abandoned. So here's the real question. How many more Eddies does it take before the people in charge start listening? If you want deeper breakdowns, real analysis without the filter, and commentary that actually says what everyone else is scared to say, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a breakdown. And drop your thoughts in the comments. Was Eddie right? Was the MP clueless? What does this moment say about Britain in 2025? I'll be reading every comment.